Okay, so this is for January 2022, okay? Home finance test is gonna happen. I don't know if you want to write this down, but that's gonna happen on Monday, January 24th. So that's right there. That's next week, Monday. We're writing the test for this unit, okay? So that's that. And this is how our final, these are cumulative tests, right? So they're not just normal tests, but I've made up my mind. And so basically what this is going to look like is we're going to write Friday, January 28th, we're going to write our first test. These 3 units are in there. And then the second test is Tuesday, February 1st, right? These 3 units are in there. And I will just show you on the calendar how that works out. We write our home finance test. We have 3 days. We write our first cumulative test. So 3 units, 3 days to prepare for it, more or less, right? Then we have the weekend, so 1, 2, 3 days to prepare for that second test. 3 units, 3 days, right? That should be fairly doable if you kind of pace yourself that way. And then these 2 days, we're not learning anything new, as I mentioned. So if your parents are okay with staying home, right, as long as they know they're going to get a phone call and you're going to be marked absent if you're not here, that's fine. I think the consequences are low, right? If you passed or whatever, if you're in pretty good shape, you should be fine. But you make that choice. So I wrote down days here. So this is on a day 2, which is kind of nice, right? It's not first thing in the morning. And the second test is also on an even day. So day 4 is also not first thing in the morning. So you'll be writing into lunch, right? So if you need extra time, you can't say, hey, can I come back tomorrow and finish it? Like, it's not going to happen. So you need to then say, like, budget for staying into lunch for both of these, okay? If that's what you need. I have a pretty good feeling that you will be done before, but just in case, you give yourself that option there. That's my offer to you. And this is home finance test is also on day 4, so that's also second period of the day. That's all just a coincidence. I didn't actually look for that, but it's kind of nice, right? So if we have a big snowstorm or whatever, you have some time to get here. Okay. Sure. If you guys want to take a picture of this, I probably will post it anyways. Like I'll take a picture after we're done and post it for those folks that didn't make it, because I don't know when I miss you, right? Like when the information is getting to you, so I'm trying my best to get it out there. But this is like my final setup for the last week. So today's Wednesday. By like 2 Wednesdays from now, it's done. Like we're done. So if you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to do some homework, right? I don't want to double check my work. Now you should be doing that now. Okay. This is the finish line. Try to finish strong. Try to, boost your mark. And I will say this again, that the highest of these 2 scores is I go back and I overwrite your lowest test score, right? We'll have written 7 tests before this one. So I overwrite that. So potentially one of these tests is almost like writing 2 tests, right? It's almost like you go back in time and you rewrite the one you bombed, right? Or maybe not bombed, but you didn't do so good, right? So this is your chance to recover. Notice that this I did on purpose. Vehicle finance is on one day, home finance is on the other day. So those are 2 kind of like bigger units that are important. So they're split so that they're not all on the same task. Because there's going to be, if I could weigh them, there's going to be like not by much, but out of all 3 questions, this one is going to be the heaviest. Out of these 3 units, this one is going to be a bit heavier than everything else in terms of what you can expect. The exam will be partitioned, like you will see a big heading, home finance. So all the questions are going to be home finance. And then there'll be another heading for statistics. Everything is set, so it's not scrambled. It's not like you have to guess which unit this is from. So that is kind of nice to know, right? So that's it, okay, for the plan. I might repeat it here and there, but hopefully not that many times. Okay, property taxes. Page 22. Property tax is, let's write this down nice and big here, ongoing. Ongoing expense. So I'm going to ask you, right, what kind of expense, or tell me an ongoing expense when you own a home. Property taxes, you pay that every year. Every year the city's gonna, this is City of Winnipeg is gonna send you a bill, and they're gonna say, hey, you either pay it all in one shot, or you can pay it monthly. It's called the TIPS program. Okay, you set that up with your bank, and then that's what I did. I don't want to pay I think it's almost $4,000 for me. I don't want to pay that in one shot. No way, right? Just take it off every month, and then you don't have a choice, right? You have to pay it. So property tax is ongoing, but let's go back to land transfer tax and on page 19 real quick, just to make sure. On there, we're going to do one time. On page 19. It's really nice to see it right off the top. It's a one-time expense. Okay, land transfer tax, got it. That's a one-time. Okay, so just making sure you understand the difference. Let's go to page 22 again. So property tax is composed of two subdivisions. There's an education tax portion and a municipal tax. Okay, they kind of split it up, but really you got to pay the whole bill. So, but they will break it down a little bit. Property taxes are calculated based on, watch this, 45% of the value of the entire property. Okay, you don't get taxed on the whole property, only 45% of the entire property. I don't know why they come up with that or how, but that's just a fact. And so sometimes I give you the building and the lot it's built on separately, just add them up, right? Like the entire value of your property is everything combined. The total value that remains is referred to as the portioned assessment. Okay, so I'll just make sure here. Portioned, and this will go over here for me. Assessment. And another way of talking about it is it's the taxable portion. Right? That's what those two words are saying. Like the portioned assessment is saying, this is what we can tax you on. Only 45%. Okay? So portion assessment is value of property right, times 0.45. Okay, so we'll box this in. Sometimes I give you the portioned assessment right off the bat. Sometimes I tell you, this is the value of the home, 45% of that will be taxed. You need to figure out the portioned assessment. Okay. Then there's something called a mill rate. That's important. You don't need to memorize it, but you will see it all the time when it comes to property taxes. A mill rate is a metric term, much like millimeter, where a mill refers to a unit of 1,000th, right? In terms of property tax rate, 1 mil represents a tax of $1 per or for every $1,000 of portioned assessed value. Don't need to memorize that. Don't worry about it too much, but I thought I'd give you that information. Where does it come from? Education tax. Sometimes there are two, right? Sometimes there are two education taxes, education 1 and 2, or one will be municipal, one will be provincial. It doesn't matter. We will just use those mill rates to calculate what the education tax is. So education tax supports the various school divisions in the province of Manitoba. They're also calculated using the portioned assessment, right? They're calculated using portioned assessed property value and the mill rate. Okay, mill rate for education tax is not the same as for municipal tax. And what you're going to see here, you don't really need to necessarily have each separately on your study sheet, but you just need to understand that to find the education tax, we take the mill rate that we will give you. We will give you the mill rate over 1,000 multiplied by the portioned assessment value. Okay. Then there's the municipal tax. They support municipalities, city, towns, district, right? And it consists of the general municipal tax and, watch this, local improvement. So general municipal and local improvement. So if they ever redo sidewalks in your neighborhood or they redo a whole street, that's local improvement. Okay. So general municipal tax, you take that mill rate divided by 1,000. It's always by 1,000, and we multiply it by the portioned assessment. Remember that 45% that we calculate, right? The taxable portion. Local improvement taxes. These are based on the cost of the improvements and your frontage. What is frontage? I will do this. This is the width of the property. The width of the property. The wider your property, the more you will pay when there's a local improvement happening in your area. That's why having a narrow lot saves you a little bit of money, but it's not a whole lot. Most of the taxes come from the value of your home, not the width of your home, of the property. Local improvement tax, you take the frontage times the cost of improvement per foot of property frontage, and we will calculate that as well. Okay. So here we go with our first example. I guess I'll give you an overview as to how this all comes together. Okay. This is what I want you to just hone in on. Okay. Summary. Right. You have the municipal mill rate, the provincial education mill rate. If there's a school division mill rate, if there's frontage, we do frontage times rate. That would be your local improvements. So you would add all of these taxes, but if there are any credits mentioned, you subtract the credits. Okay, that's very important. You subtract the credits at the end. Sometimes, I don't know who decides this, but I see it on my bill all the time. They go minus $500 credit, and I take it. I'll take any credit you give me, right? And so we subtract that at the end. Maybe sometimes they over-calculated it the year before, so now you get it back. I don't know how that works, right? So this is the big picture. This is what I really want you to focus on when it comes to property taxes. This is basically the whole thing. I know it's a little overwhelming, but I think once you do a question or two, you will understand. And notice that it's always the portioned assessment that we multiply the mill rate by. It's always the portioned assessment. If there's any local improvement, we take the width times whatever that rate is, right? And we would add all of those up, all those components, subtract any credit, and then we get our total current tax, okay? Looking at my time here, I think we're good for one or two examples. Let's go and calculate one. Okay, the Adebio family owns a home with a portioned assessed value. I will highlight that. Portioned assessed value of 138,250. Okay. The municipal mill rate, I will just highlight the mill rate. There's one mill rate, right? The municipal. The education mill rate is that the property has a frontage of 60 feet, so it's 60 feet wide in the front. The family is charged with local improvement tax for road oiling and lane lighting. The family gets a tax credit of 750 bucks. Okay, so all these components are there. Calculate the total education taxes for the property. So this question is breaking it down a little bit. So the education tax, we take, this is already the portion assessed value. So we can just take education tax will be the mill rate. So let's go look for the education mill rate. It's this one. So 15.462 divided by 1,000. Always divide them by 1,000, or else you get a ginormous, it's not a word, but my kids use it all the time. If you get a big property tax, you would never be able to afford a house if you don't divide by 1,000. And this is 138,250. Let's go, let's put a times there, okay? So let's figure this out. Okay, so we take 15.462, all decimals. I will multiply it by that portioned assessment, okay, and then divide it by 1,000. And I get 2,037.62. So we're going to put that in the back burner because we're going to need to add this up later on. But education is done. Municipal tax, I go up. Any mill rate that you're given, you need to use that, right? Municipal is 11.415 over 1,000. We also multiply that by the portioned assessment. We do the same thing, 11.415 times 138,250 divided by 1,000. That's 1,578.12. That would be just the municipal tax. So this is how much the education tax, right? The education department would be getting. This is how much the municipality that you live in, right? So Seven Oaks, right? Maples, like all these areas, they have their own property tax that they collect to take care of their area, okay? And then calculate the total property tax. I need to introduce a C here. Let's make this a C and this will be our D, okay? Because I want to do local improvement. Local improvements. And we need to be careful with our space here. So road oiling. We're going to take our 60 feet. We're going to multiply that by a rate that we're going to figure out. The other one was lane lighting. So when hydro into what did I do there? GH, sorry. Lighting, lane lighting. When hydro puts down the lights, the light posts, they will charge you for it. So both of them, we are considering the 60-foot frontage. This is where this chart comes in. Okay, you need to use that chart. And if you go towards the back, there's the local improvement costs for property tax. Okay, so we have road oiling. Road oiling is right there, and it's $8 per foot. And then lane lighting is $1.80 per foot. So I'm going to write those down. This is $8, and this is $1.80. Okay, let's figure that out. 60 times 8, right? 6 times 8 is 48, so be $480. And this is 60 times 1.8. That's $108 for local improvements. So now we can calculate our total property tax. So total is going to be the education piece, 2137.62, which is A. Let's put A underneath, plus the municipal taxes, 1578.12. That's B, plus road oiling and lane lighting. So I'm going to do 480 plus 108. This is basically C here. Let me just put that higher up here. There we go. So we have school, municipality, local improvement, and then we need to subtract a credit, right? How much was the credit for? It was 750 bucks. I'm just going to write down credit. And that is going to give us our total. So we go ahead and add that up. Minus 750, and that is 3,553.74. This is how much this particular property would pay a year. I will add that per year. Just to be clear, that's how much you pay every year. We'll do one more before we go because you need some examples, right? Chances are, listen carefully, chances are I'm going to ask you for the total property taxes. I won't necessarily break it down like that. I will just give you a bunch of information and you're like, oh, okay, there's a municipal mill rate. I'll figure out what that is. There's a school mill rate, right? I'll figure out what that is. So you have these two numbers. There's some improvements happening here. I'll figure that out. Okay. Oh, and there's a tax credit. So once you figure this out, just add, subtract the tax credit, and then you get your total. That's basically, I want you to always think of this on page 23, right? Like this is, always have this as your big picture, right? Any mill rates that show up, do a separate calculation like that, and then add them up and figure out your total, okay? Let's go example 2 here. I get to keep you a little longer anyways, right? 5 minutes, but I will try to get done before that, okay? The Lorenzo family owns a home in Selkirk. The property is assessed at land value, so the land value is 121, and the home is assessed at 245. So there's the actual property and then the house separately. The residence is taxed 45%, right? And the home has a 42-foot frontage. The municipal mill rate is 12.766. The education rate is 18.395. There's a local improvement tax for lane oiling, and you get a $700 credit here. What is the portioned assessment of this property? Portioned assessment is going to be, watch this, I take the 121 and the 245, and I multiply that by 0.45. Okay? And so that would be, if you add these two up, you get 366,000 times 0.45, and that gives you 164,700. This is what we're going to base all of our calculation. That's the taxable. This is the taxable part of the property, not the 366,000 this property is worth in total. It's the portioned assessment. So I will always tell you that it's 45%, so you don't have to guess. Okay, so there it is. So education tax, I'm just going to go ed like that, education tax. You go and find your education mill rate, which is 18.395 over 1,000 times 164,700. And for the sake of time, I will just give you that number right now. It's this. Okay, that's our education tax. The municipal tax, I go find the mill rate. It's 12.766 over 1,000. Multiply that by the 164,700, right? I always go by that taxable portioned assessment. For the sake of time, I'll give you that answer, 2102.56. And you do expect it to be less because your mill rate is less, right, for municipal. What are the annual taxes on the property in total, net of credit? That means like the credit taken off. And I'm a bit in trouble here, so I'll just do this. Lane oiling. I have to figure out any improvements if they are mentioned. Okay? And in this case, it's 24 feet times. I'll just show you here lane oiling. I'm just going to go get that number. 1 second. Lane oiling is $9 per foot. I will figure out 42 times 9 is $378. This is improvement, right? And now you can find the total. Total is 3,029.66 plus 2102.56 plus the improvement talked about is 378 minus there's a $700 credit. So let's make sure we get this. This is A, this is B, this is improvement, and this is credit. And then you get your total, which is 4,810.22 per year. Okay, so the homework will be to do example like page 25 basically. 25 to 26. So there's basically 3 questions there. Page 25 to 26. I will post the key. And tomorrow you can now expect a property tax. So I know it's going a little fast, but I'd rather you get hit with an AC right away for you to know where you're at. Right? And wait, there's more. Page 17 and worksheet booklet. So you don't have any excuses like I didn't give you enough, right? I will also post the key to that one.